Hey everybody, welcome to an edition of the Mediocre Cover Band Guitar Guy, whether you want it or not. I hope everybody's well. I want to thank everyone for the support. Please subscribe if you get a chance. I really appreciate the new subscribers that I picked up since my last video, and I appreciate all the views and the kind words. So I wanted to talk to you today about adapting to your instrument. And what I mean by that is, not everybody does things the same. You'll always have people, as long as you're playing a musical instrument, that are going to come up and try to give you a tip, and they're going to say, hey, have you ever considered doing this? Or, can I make a suggestion? One of the biggest things I got starting out was the way I held the pick. I used to strum the strings with the elbow, they call it, of the pick as opposed to the point. And I finally had a music teacher who said, I got to correct that because you're not going to be as fluid on the strings. It's just not going to work. And years later, I found out that's how Don Felder, that's how Jimmy Page, that's how Stevie Ray Vaughan all held their picks. And I was very much reminded that I'm neither of those players. Eddie Van Halen held his picks like this. He used the index and ring finger, had the pinky ready to go for the right hand playing, and he had the, almost like devil's horns. And back, you know what I mean? So that was how they adapted to play. I found that more comfortable. And if I use a nylon pick to this day, I still have to use it sideways. I don't like playing them with the point out. Dave Mustaine barely has any of his pick actually shown. He's really back on it and just has the very, very, very tip of it out. The way guys hold guitars, the way, guys swing them down low, guys have them up, their picking technique. Some guys aren't as fluid in the wrists. Some guys are all, Marty Friedman practically comes in that way. It's crazy. So everybody does something different to adapt to your instrument. If you're not doing any damage to yourself to cause an injury in your wrists or hands, and I get it with drummers. There is a certain protocol, the way you hold your drumsticks and stuff, because you got to have that grip and you don't want to be too tight. You don't want to cause those injuries, things like that. But I think if you find a style or a technique or a way to do things that's not going to be harmful to you, then are you really wrong? Right? As I mentioned before in the examples that I gave, Eddie Van Halen, the way he held the pick, the way Jimi Hendrix, did some chords. A lot of guys in the 50s and 60s would bring their thumbs over the top and fret their bar chord that way instead of that's, it's a way to overcome things. Not everybody has those fingers like Paul Gilbert where you can go from like the 3rd fret to the 12th fret. Just, some people have big hands with sausage type fingers on them and they can't do it. So they've got to find a way to adapt and overcome. And if it's not doing any harm, then why worry about it? Why become self-conscious about it? And why think that, well, I don't do it right anyway? Who's to say you're not? If you're creating something different, that's the whole idea sometimes too. And it might even help you stumble across something that is different musically that somebody else is not doing and sound different and forge yourself to the top of the pack and make somebody notice, right? So don't get too subconscious on what people like, because these people, they're not doing it, don't get me wrong, to be mean at all. In a lot of cases, it's just that these are people that were trained to do it this way, and then they did all the boring stuff. They learned how to do the major scale properly. They learned their modes. They learned a bunch of scales and things they'll probably never use in their lifetime, kind of like math in high school, right? And all of a sudden, when they see somebody who's at the same level of success, been playing as long as they have, and they're not doing those things, they just want to offer a suggestion. And maybe the way you're doing it might not work, and maybe that person's suggestion does. But if it is working, don't sweat it. Just keep doing what you're doing if you're not causing injury to yourself. It's all, at the end of the day, about keeping the guitar in your hands and keep playing as much as you possibly can and not worrying about what the next guy's doing. I watched a video on Ben Eller last year showing you how to hold a guitar pick, and talking about, we were talking about Yngwie Malmsteen one time. He anchors his, finger to the guitar, or to the pick guard, and they're like, you can't do that, but he does, and it works for him. And he's giving you this lesson where you take your pick and you put it right here between these two fingers and you hold it. So when you're playing, your hand looks like this, not like this. And I got really subconscious about that. I was like, well, am I doing it wrong? And I started watching other guitar players, and I watched a friend of mine play recently, and he was playing an acoustic gig, and he was holding his pick the proper way, as Ben Eller would say. And I get it, these are great musicians. They did the boring stuff to get where they are, and I guess they feel we all should as well. But 9 out of 10 chances it's not out of somebody being mean. And the whole thing about it is, if it's working, guys, if it works, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Keep going the way you're going. And obviously, if it's not working or it's causing you like pain to play, like the video we did on dealing with hand pain, then stop and try to figure it out, or get someone to show you the right way. But keep going your course if it's giving you success. That's all I can say. Anyway, guys, thank you very, very much once again for all the support. I really appreciate everybody being here. And I hope you come back.